You know that feeling when you're just facing a mountain of reading? It's pretty common, and it makes you wonder if there's some way to get through it all faster. So today, we're going to dive into the world of speed reading and talk about how to be more efficient.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. You look at your to-do list, you see all those chapters and articles, and you just wonder, how am I going to finish all of this? And in those moments, it's really tempting to look for some kind of shortcut, right? A way to just power through the pages.
But here's the thing, and we need to start with this because it's so important. Speed reading isn't a magic wand for everything. The goal can't just be to move your eyes across the page faster. And that's because the whole point of reading is comprehension. It's about actually understanding the material. I mean, if you try to race through something complex, your comprehension is going to drop, like way down. You might finish the chapter, sure, but you won't have really learned anything.
So, this brings us to a really core idea. You've got to match your reading strategy to what you're trying to do. There is a right time to read faster, and there's definitely a wrong time.
So, when does it make sense? Well, these techniques work best in a few specific situations. They're fantastic for scanning a text when you're just looking for a specific keyword or name. They're also really useful for reviewing material you already get, or for reading that's a little lighter, where deep, critical understanding isn't the main goal. Okay, so let's get practical. Let's look at 4 core techniques that you can add to your reading toolbox. And I want you to think of them just like that, as special tools for specific jobs, not as a replacement for your normal, focused way of reading.
So our very first technique is called finger tracking, and it's probably the simplest one to get started with.
It's exactly what it sounds like. You just use your finger, or maybe a pen, to guide your eyes across the text while you read. It seems simple, but this physical action is actually really powerful. It keeps your eyes on track, which helps you focus and makes it a lot less likely for your mind or your eyes to just wander off the page. All right, our second technique is something called chunking. Now, this one is a bit more of a challenge, and it definitely takes some practice.
So the idea here is that instead of reading one single word at a time, you actually train your eyes to see and process groups of words or phrases all at once. This makes you more efficient because you're taking in more information with every single glance.
Next up, we have our third technique, and it's called middle focus. This one's all about using your peripheral vision.
With middle focus, you're not trying to read every word from left to right. Instead, you just fix your gaze on the center of a line of text. The whole goal is to let your peripheral vision pick up the words on either side. It allows you to absorb the whole line with a lot less eye movement.
And our final technique for the toolbox is called zigzag reading. Sometimes you'll hear it called pattern reading.
Now, this is a technique you're pretty much only going to use for scanning. Instead of reading line by line, your eyes move in a kind of zigzag or an S-shaped pattern down the page. You aren't reading every word, not at all. You're just hunting for key ideas, headings, or specific phrases. It's perfect for when you need to find something fast. Now listen closely, because this is probably the most crucial point of this entire lesson. Please let this one sink in. These techniques are tools. They are tools for specific jobs. They are not, and should never be, your default setting for how you read everything. Okay, so now it's time to actually put this into practice. Let's move from just learning about these tools to figuring out how you can actually use them in your own work. So go ahead and pause right here and open up your workbook to lesson 12.4. We're going to walk through the Apply It section step by step. Okay, first thing, I want you to think of a real reading task that you have to do soon for any class. Now, what's its purpose? Are you reading to learn something new and complicated? Is it for reinforcement, like reviewing notes you already took? Or are you just scanning to find one specific fact? Go ahead and pause and write that down. All right, now based on the purpose you just identified, look back at those 4 techniques we talked about. Which one of those tools would be the best fit for that job? You know, if you're scanning, zigzag reading is probably a great choice. If you're reviewing, maybe finger tracking will help you stay focused. Choose a technique and jot it down. You can pause here again. For this last step, let's do a little reflection. Think about that same reading task. When would it be a really bad idea to use speed reading? For example, when you're reading a chapter in your history textbook for the very first time. Write down a situation where you know you need to slow down on purpose to make sure you actually understand. So after all of that, what is the one big idea here? If you only remember one thing from our time today, please make it this. Here it is. Reading faster is helpful only when it does not reduce your understanding. If you speed up but you understand less, you haven't actually gained anything. In fact, you've lost time. The goal is always to be an effective reader, not just a fast one.
Now go ahead and finish up the rest of the Lesson 12.4 page in your workbook. Just take a moment to complete those reflection questions.
And in our next lesson, we're going to build right on top of this. Because, reading something isn't quite enough. You need a system to capture the important information and turn it into knowledge you can actually use. We'll explore exactly how to do that. I'll see you then.
Now